Today on the Church Media Guys show, I'm not Dave Curley, I'm Justin Nava. I'm running the show. Dave is out of here, and I've brought on a special guest, a church media consultant. So we're going to talk about church media trends to look out for at the end of 2019, going into 2020. It's going to be good stuff, and it might just help you and your church take it to the next level. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the Church Media Guys show. My name is Justin Nava. Dave is not here today, and I'm going to be running the show. Mwahaha, cue evil laugh. I'm one half of Church Training Academy, where we teach churches and ministries how to use and exploit media and technology to take the gospel to inside your church, outside your church, your community, your world. And I'm just told my mic is clipping a little bit, so I'm going to bring it down. Let me know if that's any better. And you can't have Church Media Guys with just one guy. So I've got a special guest, a man who's been so active in the chat and waiting in the wings, just rabid to come on the show. I've got AJ Holmes with us. AJ, how's it going?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. AJ, take two, because we ran like a 10-minute intro before we actually went live on YouTube. So we've got some practice now. I'm not stumbling over my words. And with me is AJ. AJ has been a fantastic compatriot, I don't know what you would call it, because last week there was a chance Dave was not going to be on the show. I said, AJ, will you help us and wait in the wings in case Dave can't do the show? And then, of course, Dave could do the show, so AJ was just super active and helpful in chat. And then today, Dave's got some family illnesses going on. Pray for the Curley family. And I said, AJ, I sent him a message late last night, like at 11 o'clock, and 11 o'clock his time, and he replied right away, yes, I will be there. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I was like, whoa, don't call me sir. That's my dad's name. So, AJ, welcome to the show. And I want to give a special shout out. Let me get my overlays out of the way of the chat. I want to give a shout out to Marcus, Augustin, Gabriel, Sing Cow, Christopher, Tommy, everyone watching in the chat, and the folks watching. Question of the day, leave a comment down below. What are you experimenting with right now? And while you're at it, take your finger if you're on your phone, take your mouse if you're on your computer, give us a like, drop some comments here, because that's going to help this video get out to more people. So in a roundabout way, your participation could help another church discover the content here, make a change, and reach more people with their church media ministry, all because you just hit the like button. So what's going on? AJ, Tommy in the chat wants to know, how are you doing?
I am doing outstanding.
Fantastic. And for the people that are wondering, where are you right now? Because you're standing perfectly still. What's going on over there?
I am in my church's media booth, and I have this cable with my headphone, and if I move any type of way, my audio will go out. So I have to stay still, like military style, like when I was in the Marines.
Okay, so there's clue number one to AJ's mysterious past. He was in the Marines. So write that down. There will be a test afterwards. AJ, for our new guests, before we get into exactly what you do and how long you've been doing it and how you help churches, I want to give you some quick fire questions. These questions you've already answered on our pre-show that wasn't live. So maybe the answers will change, or we might end the show in 2 minutes. Let's see. Question number one. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
You pass. Question number two. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Okay. 0 for 1. Okay, let's continue. Coffee or tea?
I would say, can I mix them both? No, I'll say tea for right now.
Tea! Okay, let me get a sip of my iced coffee here. Today's show is not sponsored by the Houston Texans. Okay, so 0 for 2, 0 for 2. That's fine. You can believe what you want to believe. Question 3, red team or blue team?
Favorite color? I have to do blue team.
Blue team. Okay, all right. Well, I'm sporting my red shirt here. Anyone in the chat that knows what I'm talking about with red team, blue team, let me know. You'll be my new best friend. Question 4, I'm going to throw a new one at you. The Office or Friends?
The Office.
The Office. Okay, good. Whew. All right, last question. Number 5, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Both.
Both. Ladies and gentlemen, he changed his answers. Why both? What do you like from both franchises?
I like the extended universe. I like all the mythos that with Star Wars. Star Trek, I love the tech because my dad, he was a physics teacher, and after church, we would sit down and watch that as an entire family. So Star Wars is great. It can't battle with all the family time we had watching Next Generation and everything together.
Okay, cool. So we'll continue. We'll continue. Dave in the chat is watching Parks and Rec. The Office is better. It's just a little bit better than Parks and Rec. Go ahead and at me on that. AJ, so let's get down to brass tacks. Tell me, AJ, what do you do for churches, and tell us a little bit about how you came about becoming the consultant extraordinaire for church media that you are today.
Well, I would probably say originally started with I came here to the church I'm at now. I was a hired musician, and they were building a new sanctuary, and they had a whole lot of tech, and I just happened to see some of the stuff because my background is computers, and I'm like, why do y'all have that? I don't know. That's what they told us. Why don't you come sit up here with us? And then 8 years later, I have been the president of the media ministry. So I kind of got handed that. And what we do is really just try to help our church embrace technology. I've been a preacher's kid my whole life, and I know churches are normally the last ones to embrace anything new. So with my background in computer science is showing how we can reach so many more people with technology instead of running from it in fear.
Awesome. And let me go right into it because today we want to kind of talk about church media trends, and I really want to focus today on what are some easy, maybe low-hanging fruit, but also easy to grasp trends that is working for our churches, maybe things that you've seen work for other churches. But first, I want to ask you just what are you just excited about going into the end of 2019? Like what do you like? I can't wait to get my hands on it, or I've done it, and I just like, what are you excited about?
The ATEM Mini. I'm
Okay,
excited
and
about.
for those of us that don't know, I mean, I totally know what it is, but go ahead and explain it to those who don't.
It's a video switcher for connecting multiple computers and cameras together. Normally, that was around like 1,000 at the low end, up to $10,000 to $20,000, and they have a new one that's coming out next month that just opens the door for so many churches to get into multi professional stuff, multi professional budgets.
Yeah, so you said your mic broke out a little bit. You said it's gonna be $300.
Yes, $300.
So if we're looking to add more than one camera, like Chris said in the chat, it's a game changer for us. Because
Exactly,
not
it is.
only, I mean, yes, we have to buy another camera. Maybe we use a different one, but the switcher is almost a non. It's not a non-starter anymore. It's like, oh, it's just another $300 on top of, say, you want to buy another XA10 or whatever the model number is. You're talking $300 on top of another 1100, right? So it's not that much more to add a second camera. Do you, as far as getting that second camera, are there any cameras you're enjoying using right now? Should we go to pawn shops? Should we use our phones as a second camera? How would you go about adding that second camera?
Well,
And your mic
personally,
completely dropped out there. Sorry, start over.
still can't hear me?
Yep, there we go. Gotcha.
Okay. I was saying a lot of churches I work with are budget conscious. So, me personally, I recommend the Canon R800 if somebody was getting started. You can get that for maybe like $190. Great auto zoom and things like that. But again, me personally, we use a Canon G20 that's about 5 years old now, and those are great cameras. And it all depends on what you want to do. Mine is to let technology not get in the way. So if you're just trying to get started and you have somebody that can man the camera, hey, I start with there and then work up towards that, because that's how we started as a proof of concept, and we earned the money to where we were able to get better. So I'm always a fan of starting where you're at and then work towards where you want to go.
Yeah, I really like that. Start where you're at and then work where you want to go. One thing that I really enjoyed under one pastor that I got to work under on staff for about 7 years was whenever I had a project idea for him, he would always ask for, he'd say, give me the Chevy Nova budget, give me the budget that is like a good car, maybe a Nissan Altima, and then give me the Cadillac budget. And so anytime I had to submit a proposal to him, I'd have three different budgets. So for this one, I might say, okay, so that what was the model number of the $190 camera, the Canon
The
something?
Canon R800.
So I might put the R800 there as the minimum, like let's just get started budget, and then for the regular budget, I might do one of the Canon Vixias that I know Dave's always talking about. Those can be as little as $200 depending on the features. The one I've looked at was around 400, 500, and I can't remember the model number. And then maybe after that, the G20, right? Because those run a little bit higher. So if you buy a new one,
Mhm.
or what's the Panasonic that people are using, the G4 or something like that? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me know
or
in
the
the chat.
G7, something
G7.
like that.
Let me know in the chat what camera you're using. I'm interested to know. But I've always used the Canon XA lineup, and I just like them because also they're real quick to grab and go if I need to go out in the field. So you get a little bit of that multi-use there. But that's just my personal, I haven't gotten out much. I stick with what I know recommendation there. What's your thought on, because people are still talking about it, what's your thought on the little Mevo cameras or a security camera that you stick on the back media booth and it kind of zooms in and tracks? Do you have any thoughts on those cameras?
I've messed around with those Mevos, and again, I'm of a mindset of what we're doing from a church standpoint, YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. It's your own TV network, and my thought is think future. That will get you started, but for the same price that you're going to spend with that, you can get something that could at least do more controllable zooming, or like you said, more run and gun if you need to. Like our cameras, yeah, they're mounted, but we can easily pull them down to do videos, do whatever. I'm all about multiple uses of whatever equipment we got, not just throw $5,000 that's going to be on a PTZ camera that hangs on a wall and that's all you can use it at, because a lot of us are tight on budget. So what more can we get out of the tech when we decide to put money into it?
Absolutely, I really agree with that. What else are you seeing as far as live streaming? What's another commonality that you see that is either needs to be improved or needs to be stopped on live streaming? Like for example, one thing we say is if you're going to have a live stream, great, but you got to have someone behind the camera because especially when you're watching on your iPhone and just a static wide shot of the screen of the stage is just boring to watch. So one of the first things we always say is try to get someone behind the camera. What's your go-to that you just see almost every church doing this on live stream, and you're like, no, let's change it up. Do you have something like just comes to right to your head?
Well, you kind of, the first thing I would say is this. I can't stand this. But I mean, again, to try and what I teach our guys here is when we have on camera, or if you're having on an iPad, iPhone, whatever, is to realize if somebody's watching this, I need to see from waist up, or we're magnifying in here. I don't need to see the person on our projectors, our TVs, as if I'm physically sitting inside the building. It's image magnification. Magnify it so we can see you better. Like I think that's the one thing, or at least cut out the people that are out of the shot. And I just say mimic what you see in TV as best as you can.
Tommy in the chat said and thank you all for sharing what you're using in the chat. Augustine's using a Canon XA11, my man. Chris is using a Sony AX53. Let me ask a sidebar question. I personally very much dislike almost all Sony cameras. I had a Sony DSLR camera at my last job. At my current church, we have a Sony something camera, and it's a decent camera, but I struggle with Sony's because so much of their garbage is proprietary. Am I just using out of date equipment, or what are your thoughts on Sony cameras and their use of proprietary stuff? You're breaking up again.
out again?
Yeah, there you go.
I was saying I actually use a Sony AX55. That's what I personally use
Okay.
at home and for other videos. Yes, I completely agree. But the only reason I stuck with them is when I was using Sony Vegas. So all of their stuff from the camera to the video editing, it just works. So I have been using that for years. Um, I mean, I honestly, I think now that so many more people are into video and stuff like that, it's they've gotten a lot of that stuff out of the way, I think. But again, Canon, I have to agree, Jarvis, hands
Yeah.
down.
Jarvis in the chat said Canon is the best. What do you like to use? And Christopher Hall, me and him have already talked about this in Mastermind. Portrait on phones is terrible. I say personally, and let's talk about this. Portrait on phones. AJ, I will send my wife a YouTube video or tag her in a Facebook post, and it's one of those things like you see them pull it up, and so I kind of watch my wife, and even a widescreen 16:9 video, she will watch like this, really, and so it's black barred, letterboxed, whatever you want to call it, and she will watch it. She will not turn her phone sideways. And I find myself, I do the same thing sometimes too. Is this something that we should fight against and say no? We're gonna when we're gonna make widescreen stuff or portrait mode, or is there a place for both? What are you seeing here?
Honestly, I like it. Again, I'm coming from a post-production type of mindset to where like I've had people send me vertical and then I have to put it on our video or something like that, and then I have the bar. I have more material to work with editing. And by that way, I can go to Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and I don't have to do a lot of.
Yeah, that makes sense. So my thing is, I want to be, what's the word, frictionless. And so, yes, on social, in fact, Dave will tell you this too. When you're doing a post that's just for Facebook or just for TikTok or just, because first of all, if you use TikTok, it's the worst when you have to turn your phone sideways because TikTok is not made to use your phone sideways. I'm skipping your video. But same thing with Snapchat, but most churches aren't on Snapchat. But yeah, if I'm making a video specifically for Instagram, I will do it portrait style or specifically for Facebook. When we do clips of our show, I will clip it into a square because again, that's more real estate. I don't do portrait because it doesn't work with our widescreen. You know, we got a head here, and then your head's over there, wherever you are on screen. So that doesn't really work. But I try to trim it where it's gonna go. And people are commenting here. Yeah. So Dave said the only time he doesn't turn it sideways is when he's driving. Dave, stop using your phone when you're driving. We love you too much. Don't hurt yourself. And Tommy said you need a new headset. So Tommy, AJ messaged Tommy your address, and I'm sure he's going to buy you one, ship it over. I'm assuming that's what you mean, Tommy. And then Jarvis said, how about we stay away from using cell phones, period, for professional live streaming in church? Should we just skip cell phones in church and go straight towards broadcast mode, as we call it? Or is there a place for using cell phones for streaming in church?
I'm in agreement. Yes, I would love to go in that direction, but the only thing I would say, kind of like what we said before, is just getting started. Now, as much as I love tech, as I love computers and all this other stuff like that, me personally, the word is more important. I don't want the technology to get in the way of the message going out. So if you're at a church and that's all you got, use what you got. Once you get a chance to move to something else, move. Don't stay there. Move.
Yeah, we always talk about, the first method of live streaming is cell phone, selfie mode. We call it selfie mode. And from there, we recommend you move into indie mode. If you just you can't get money for broadcast mode, you don't have an extra laptop, you don't have the tripod, it might be cheaper to go indie mode, which is where you get the iographer and maybe a better lens that clips onto your phone. You can get that for $100 or $200, and then you can actually, mount it on a tripod too, which you can get for like $30 on Amazon. I think an Amazon Basics tripod is $30, and it's pretty good because I have one around here somewhere. I experimented this with my church, and I found it pretty good. Now I did this in addition to our live stream. However, I think I think I would do this instead if I just didn't have a broadcast mode. Was instead of trying to mount there and just watch the sermon for 30 minutes or however long, or try to follow the pastor if I don't have a tripod. What I would do is you kind of have to have a feel for your pastor, but when I would feel a story coming along, or I would open up Instagram and say, go live, or be ready to go live, and as soon as the pastor said, that reminds me one time in high school, bam, go live, and I would record that one story, and then the message behind it. Or maybe if you had an illustration, one pastor I had liked to do big stuff. He had a full scuba set on stage, and he was talking about, I don't remember what, but I remember the scuba set. I would sit there and just have Facebook ready, and then as soon as he starts telling a story, bam, go live, and I would just record that one story. Maybe it would be a 4-minute, 3-minute, 6-minute video, which I can hold my phone for that amount of time, but then also it's short enough to where I can track him, and I can't do it anymore, and I really dislike this. The iPhone 11, I should have gotten the Pro Max, or the Pro, because the iPhone 11 Basic does not have the telescopic zoom lens. So before, on my last phone, I had the 2X camera, so I could zoom pretty well, and it looked pretty good. This new phone, I can't do that, so I have to sit closer if I was to do this. But I would just record that one clip, and I found that one clip would sometimes get more traffic than our live stream. Now, that's just the way the algorithm works. But that's what I would do. If I just didn't have the broadcast mode set up, and I didn't want to sit there and hold the camera or mount the tripod, maybe it just didn't work for whatever reason, the audio was bad, I would just record that clip. And I found that to work really well. The comments have been streaming by here, so give me a second to run there. So Chris said cell phones for the run and gun, 100%. 100%, absolutely that. And of course, he says broadcast mode for the worship set. And that's kind of what I'm getting to, is that you want to aim for broadcast mode, and you want to start with what you have, but you don't want to be happy there. Just on my mind, because right before the show, I go to the gym, and you can tell by my hair. My hair is all crazy. In fact, I got a little alpha right here. Audio listeners, you're missing out. Can't get it. There we go. In fact, before the show, I go to the gym. And I think we all go through these seasons where we get really inspired to do something. We lose about 10 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. And then you're like, yes, I did it. Let me stay here. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, nah, dude, you're still like way overweight. And you're like, but I lost 10 pounds. You can't be happy with where you started. You have to keep going. And so you can't just say, yeah, we're live streaming. We got it. We're good. Watch the live stream. It's fantastic. Come watch. You got to say, what's next? What's next? And that's kind of what we're talking about. If we're talking about the trends to look out for, and we're really hitting live stream hard. So I'm sorry, Dave, that you can't be here. Chris said that's the problem, is people won't move, and why I say no to cell phone or Mevo for the worship service. So yeah, that's a good thought, Chris. And he asked too, am I an Apple fanboy? I didn't get the iPhone 11 Pro. No, I'm trying to save some money here. I've been buying the whatever, and I just wanted, because my wife has the Pro Max 500 gigabyte whatever. I was like, I just want to be basic, and so I got the 11. It also comes in red. It's I say cheap. I know it's a $700 phone, but since I upgrade every year, I'm basically leasing this phone. It's cheaper. And I just wanted to take a break from the rat race there. But I'm very sad I don't have the telescopic lens. AJ, are you Apple or Android?
Android.
Android. Do you like the customability? Do you like the phones, the hardware? What do you like about it?
I don't have enough time to even explain. I don't like the culture of a lot of Apple stuff. Now, this is coming from being tech support for over 15 years. That's the reason I don't like it.
Gotcha.
I'd rather you give me bare metal that I can mess up than let me lock this away from you because I don't think you're ready for it. That's how I feel a lot of Apple products are. And
I agree. And the main reason I stay with Apple is I tried Android. I actually did. If you've ever heard of the Dave Ramsey free cars for life, I did that with my phone. So I basically bought, T-Mobile had a special, so I bought I bought a $100 Windows phone for like $50, and it was a Windows 10 phone. This was back in 2013 or 14, And what I did was I bought it outright, and then I started paying myself $30 a month. And then after about a year or two, I can't remember, I think it was a year, I bought the Google Nexus 5. I think it was the Nexus 5. And I love that phone. That was a great phone. Good hardware, bare bones Android. It was fantastic. It was a little frustrating because, my rest of my family's on iPhone. But then the problem started when I upgraded. I kept paying myself. And then the Note 4 came out. And I really liked the larger screen, the stylus. I really used the mess out of that phone. But the problem was, I bought it outright because I'd been saving all this money. The problem was, first of all, the Samsung Android OS was incredibly bloated. I don't know if it still is, but what I fell in love with on Android, on the Nexus, the Google phone, this was before the Pixel, it was just hidden or overrun with Samsung garbage. And then on a Sunday morning, the software updated, and I didn't do any side loading or anything. I stayed legit Google Play. I didn't do anything on my own. I tried to customize it, but everything came from Google Play. One Sunday morning, my phone updated while I was at the church, and the update bricked my phone because T-Mobile said this is not a good update. And I'm like, what's going on here? So on a Sunday morning, when I need my phone the most, my phone was bricked, and I don't know what it was. It was a bad Sunday, or I had too many problems with the Samsung stuff, so I said, forget this. I went to T-Mobile, and I jumped to the iPhone 5, I think, or something like 5 or 6, whatever the year was, or 7. And I jumped there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just staying with Apple because it works. I'm okay being limited as long as it works. I'm very happy because the iOS, what are we on now, 13, has the swiping keyboard, which Android has had since 2011 or whatever. So I know I had to wait for that, and I prefer that. But it's in the ecosystem. My whole family has Apple. I've got 2 Apple computers here. We've got an Apple TV in every room. It's just the environment, right? I would, and I tell this all the time to the guys whenever we talk about this in Mastermind. I love the hardware. I love the Samsung hardware. If I could have iOS on the new Note or the new Galaxy, I would buy that in a heartbeat. I love their hardware. The problem is the software I don't care for. Like if I could just have iOS on that hardware, I'd absolutely buy that phone. But that's just me. That's just me. What do you think about Apple since Tim Apple took over?
Again, I'm all about innovation. And me personally, I stay kind of knowledgeable of what's going on. I haven't really been that impressed. Again, I build all my computers ever since '98. I don't buy one in the store anymore. When they released the specs for that new Mac, not the trash can, the cheese grater one that they came out with, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, the tech was cool, but I'm like, $1,000 for a TV stand, a monitor stand? Nah, that's too much. Like, that's entirely too much. Like now, some of the tech inside of it is cool, but have a $5,000 just Apple tax? No.
Yeah, I agree. I pay the Apple tax. In fact, I'm looking to get a MacBook Pro, and I know I could get the same computer for half the price PC. But I just like that. First of all, I like that you can put, again, kind of locked down, and I know I can get my way. I know Dave can help me get around this, but like this computer I have over here, you can't see it, it's off camera. I have Mac OS, but it's an Apple, but I also have Windows. And it's actually primarily a Windows computer because I have some software and some things that I do that just work better on Windows. But if I get a laptop, I want it to have both Mac OS and PC. And even though it might just be a PC machine for me, I like having those options. But then also, I'm a little bit trapped, and I'll admit that, trapped in the Apple ecosystem. I can only get text messages on my computer if I have an Apple. I can't get it to work on a PC, which when I had an Android, that wasn't a problem. Things just work faster. I prefer Final Cut Pro over Premiere. That's just me. And Ryan McGill, which is I think we're the only 2 people in the group that prefer Final Cut over Premiere. But things, and also Ecamm Live is Mac only. Some of my favorite software is it just runs better, or it's Mac only. and it's kind of what I've grown up on. I got into it in college, and it's just easier for me to use. And yes, I can use a PC and work my way around. I love Windows 10. It's fantastic. It's quick, and you can keep it leaner, I think, a lot easier than any previous version of Windows. But for me personally, with what I use, Apple is it's just a lot better. And I think they have gone downhill since Tim Cook. I think Steve Jobs, and Dave can speak to this a lot better than I can, but I think Steve Jobs was focused on that innovation, and Tim Cook is focused on the bottom line, the manufacturing, right? I mean, you can tell even in the keynote, Steve Jobs never talked about technology. And the last keynote, they spent like 20 minutes talking about the internal guts and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't care about that. I just want my computer to work. But it is where we are. It is where we are now, and they must be doing something right because people keep buying them. And the problem is, it's not us. It's not the creatives. It's everyone else, and other products, iPhones, iPads, watches. Yeah, it's really expanded, and they've kind of left the computers behind, I feel.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I get this question a lot too. With that, would you prefer a church who's getting started go down the PC route or the Mac route?
That's a great question. So the first answer is always, what do you have? For example, like when we started, we used my MacBook. This wasn't for live streaming. This was for media presenting. But I had a MacBook, so that's just what we used, and that's what we learned. And then eventually we bought the youth a Mac machine because we just already knew it. Absolutely, if you're looking to buy a computer, a presentation computer, I think you got to go with PC unless you just have a really good reason to go with Mac. The two best reasons I know to go with Mac, I guess three, is number one, you just know Mac better, right? Which most churches I've worked with don't. But then also number two, if you really want to run ProPresenter, which is a premier software, it just works better on Mac. And Chris will back me up on that in the chat because he has personal experience with that. So, and then three, if you just have the money, for example, if you were given a gift, one church I worked with was just given a gift that said, make our media better, here's $15,000. Well, yeah, we did a lot with that money, and including it, we were able to buy a Mac that we know is going to be warranty for 3 years with Apple Care. It's going to work best with ProPresenter. Our staff knows it in and out. It's going to work with our Ecamm Live setup because we can integrate them together. So Chris is saying in the chat, ProPresenter is not friendly with PC at all. But if you're going to go with something like Media Shout or something else like that, it's cheaper for sure. Get a PC. You're going to get way better internals. You're going to have more control over it. If you have someone in IT or you have a volunteer that can fix computers, you're going to get 8 to 10 years out of that sucker for a much smaller investment. So, so basically that's my answer. Did that answer the question, or did I just confuse it even more?
No, I mean, I just we run ProPresenter, but and I have to agree, but I actually threw so much hardware at it that ProPresenter doesn't choke compared to what it used to. But I mean, I have to agree. There's some stuff like, again, I had a Mac in college, and when it came to, I started with Final Cut and all of those back on the Mac, and it was great. So, I mean, I guess I just have so many people that go back and forth, and they almost kind of like Xbox or PlayStation battle back and forth. And I'm like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's like and then kind of like what you said, which one are y'all more comfortable with? Because everybody here in my media booth, they use Windows for at work and everything like that. So, and I have one person who's a Mac user. So if I had switched everything to Mac, it would have been a nightmare to try and get everybody to run.
Yeah, I need to tell Chris to calm down in the chat because his last 4 chats have had a total of like 20 exclamation points. So Chris, calm down in the chat. He said Media Shout is PC only. Never get Media Shout for Mac. So if someone tries to sell you Media Shout for Mac, also ask me for a bottle of snake oil because that doesn't exist either. Let's take a break here. I want to share with you just real quick. I want to give a shout out to Ecamm Live, and this is unsolicited. They do not pay to sponsor anything. But if you follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, which by the way, Justin Nava on both of them, pretty much everywhere. Ecamm, I did a presentation for Church Marketing Summit, and mentioned that I use Ecamm, and we kind of talked a little bit about what the benefits of Ecamm are and how easy it is. Dave uses, I believe he still uses OBS. He might use vMix, but he uses some other software because he knows how to bring Zoom in. He knows how to bring graphics in, play videos, shoot them up really quick, and he's got a video stream deck that he can just click a button and things change. I can't do that. I don't have the equipment, and I don't have the patience to set up and test and run trial and error on equipment like that. So I use a software called Ecamm Live. I started using it last year, and I fell in love with it. Basically, I can switch stuff around. I got me, and then I press a button, I got AJ. I press a button, we got both. I prefer Ecamm, and they sent me some swag because I mentioned them, and I got into a mug off because a gentleman I met at a conference was like, "Hey, Ecamm, send me some other stuff. Send me some swag too." And he got some, and we did a mug off. And Ecamm actually made an official competition on Facebook, and I want to thank you guys, CTA family, CTA universe, whatever we're calling you, for voting because I won. And they're going to send me something else. So I have no idea what it is. But regardless of all that, I really, really enjoy Ecamm. Now there's a price for it. I believe it's $10 a month for the basic plan. I'm on the lifetime. I invested early and I got it for life. So for one-time payment. But it is $10 a month. I highly recommend it. I think for the next plan up, $15 a month, you get a lot of other stuff. But the basic plan is really what you need for church. You can do NDI, you can run your cameras in it. It's real smooth, real quick. I love the software, and I can't imagine streaming on anything else right now, although hopefully someday Dave will turn me into a techie and I'll figure all that stuff out. AJ, have you used Ecamm? Do you recommend it?
I've had one of my folks have asked me about it. I haven't got a chance to play around with it because I don't have a. I had to borrow a Mac from one of our folks to actually use it. I knew enough just to test it out, but I'm kind of like Dave. I actually have OBS with a Stream Deck here, as well as I have at home. But I've bounced between. Honestly, I've used them all. For gaming, I use Streamlabs OBS. I have vMix, OBS. I've even used Livestream Studio with Vimeo Live for a whole year. Um, that one is a pain. Um, but I mean, I've used them all. I like kind of like I guess going back to the Android. I like OBS. That yes, it can be troublesome, but once you get it working, it works great.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we say. Now, Dave, Chris did tell me Dave uses vMix, so vmix.com. And Chris said they have versions for every budget. So I got to check again because last time they were outside of my budget. But anyways, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Ecamm Live. Let's turn away from, by the way, before we do this, also, if you're watching live, drop a like. We still have not enough likes here that I want to see on YouTube. Again, when you participate in the chat and you like the video, that helps us get the word out to other people. It puts us into other people's recommended videos. And we want them to see it because we can help change their media ministry for the better. They can discover something new, see one of the things we're talking about, make their live stream better, which in turn might bring someone to their church to hear the good news or find community or plug in. And it's all because you like the video. So absolutely like the video, share it with your pastor, email it, say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. These other guys are talking about it. They know what they're talking about it. Let's move forward, pastor. You're always welcome to do that. Copy it, email it to a pastor. Let's shift away a little bit from the sound booth and let's talk about online stuff. Let's close out the show because we're coming on time here. AJ, what are you seeing that's working really well for churches that we should look into going into the Christmas season and into 2020? Is there anything online, social media, website, marketing, paid ads? What's on your mind? What's on your heart right now?
Honestly, it's kind of like collabs and doing what we're doing like right now, beyond just streaming. I guess the whole thing I was seeing a lot of times it was kind of like, we don't need to live stream. Now when we start live streaming, they're treating live streaming just like a regular service. It's like it's a camera and nothing else. And it's like you could do so much more with that. Like the idea is your church, my church, to a stranger is no different. What's really making us stand out is the community that our church has, the people, that is what we need to see more of. So, like, yeah, you got a portable camera, you can live stream the service. That's great. How about you take the media ministry and go to some of the kids who have a game and bring a portion of that into the church? Or, oh, you have if you're still knocking on doors, take the camera not up to people's houses, but have people show what you do outside of the church, and you can live stream and have like a show like this where you're sitting down with a Wednesday night, or your pastor sits down 5 minutes on a certain day and he's just talking and just being real and showing that it's not just a Sunday thing. That's what I'm seeing a lot of people move into, and I know we're pushing our church in that direction as well too.
Yeah, we preach on that all the time. Do you? I'm not gonna. Never mind. I'm not gonna ask that question. We have already answered that question too much. But so yeah, do you like? Let me throw a couple ideas out there. Do you like it? Do you not like it? How would you do it differently? Number one thing I've seen is we've got Thanksgiving turkey bowling for the youth. Where you get a turkey and you bowl it down and you try to score some points or whatever. I don't know. Let's just go with that. So I would take my phone and I'd go to the youth pastor and I'd say, hey, can we do an interview about the turkey? And I'd just go live. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Justin Nava. I'm normally in the sound booth, but today I'm interviewing Mr. Jason here because we are going to be bowling some turkeys. Jason, what is turkey bowling and how old do you have to be to get in? And Jason would say, hey, youth group's doing turkey bowling. We're going to buy some turkeys, frozen turkeys. We're going to bowl them. We're going to keep them wrapped. We're going to bowl them, and they're going to knock down some pins. The winner of the night gets a special prize. I don't know. This is for students to participate, but if you want to volunteer and come help set up the pins, prep the turkeys, whatever, you're more than welcome to come. And I'd be like, oh, that sounds so cool. What's going to happen to the turkeys afterwards? Oh, we're going to break them down, and we're going to use it as part of our Thanksgiving something or other. I don't know. Do you like that kind of interview style to promote an event, or is there something else you would do in that situation?
No, honestly, that's exactly the same thing we've done. Like, we had a youth carnival, and to drum up more attention, and because that's what the kids are doing anyway, it was to actually do that. I mean, that's what we try and do to our kids. It's like, hey, y'all are watching YouTube like crazy. All that stuff that you're watching, we can do that here. And we do it in that same type of way of like, oh wow, this is cool. They're not weird. They can actually do worldly stuff that's fun here. Yes, we can. And I completely agree. I think that, and that's how I get more kids to be involved with the media ministry. Like, hey, what you're doing right now, you're videoing on Snapchat. Hey, you can do that here. Here's our church account. As long as you're doing stuff in decency and order, hey, have fun.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And something else that I've seen is a lot of storytelling, and I've seen it, but I haven't seen it enough. When you discover that someone has a story, for example, I just was on Facebook and I saw a family that said, "Hey, here's a picture of our daughter. She's 11 years old. She wasn't supposed to live past 11 months. We are so grateful for her and her health." And then that's like a story. How would you go about taking that story and putting it to video on for social media or for someone to see?
All right. Well, hopefully, um, we've been doing video announcements recently, and I would interject that type of comment in that. So, like, for a while ago, we were doing a 30-second breakdown of meeting other people in the church who are normally behind the scenes that you don't do. It was literally like, we called it many members of the body. Hey, what's your name? What do you do here? Why do you do what you do? And it was like 30 seconds, and we just interjected that into our video announcements, which we broke off later and did that on Facebook, so and all over social media. And it was like, wow, it's a way to get to know other people inside our church and to show people outside of the church, hey, he's a human, I'm a human, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, I really like that. Does what do you prefer? Do you prefer that we actually like record a video, edit it, make it pretty, and then post it online, or do you prefer let's just do it live?
The folks I'm working with, they want to edit it. A lot of
Okay.
them, I'm still trying to work with a lot of people to be comfortable with live. So I still have tons of people who they want to be heard, but they don't want to be seen. So I would have to edit that. But I think the encouragement is that the more and more we get comfortable with it, from a media ministry delivering that content, we instill trust in everybody else to where there's like, okay, they won't make me look like a fool if we're live. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of like where the spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If they have liberty and what we have freedom in what we're doing, we can actually help them be like, you know what, I can trust them. They're not going to make me look stupid. And I see what they're doing with this.
100%. Last question. And Jarvis asked, what about going back to talking about streaming software? We talked about OBS, vMix, Ecamm Live. He wants to know, what about Easy Worship software? You have an opinion on Easy Worship?
We used to use Easy Worship, and then we moved, and that was just because I forgot what version it was. It was buggy as all get out, and they were promising an upgrade, and it took them so long to get to the upgrade, and unfortunately, by the time they got the upgrade, everybody's moved on, and that was kind of like us. An upgrade happened, it didn't support Windows 10, and it just broke, so we had to go with Pro, and now we're bouncing between that and Worship Extreme. So,
Okay, you
unfortunately,
said Worship Extreme?
yes.
I have not heard of that. Tell me about Worship Extreme.
Well, it was interesting. I actually, Worship Extreme is a software package made by another media ministry who they were a small budget and the pricing of software was kind of difficult. So they came together, developed a whole software package, which they have, it's a tiered model, but it's completely free as long as you have an internet service, and it literally can do almost exactly the same thing as ProPresenter. Not all the super fancy stuff, but a lot of churches I work with who are budget conscious, they've been using Worship Extreme for years. It can do literally the same thing. It just needs internet access, but the tiered approach is like $10, $15 a month, and you can have site licenses, everything. And it works great. I actually have worked with that company, and they kind of like you, they gave me the free license indefinitely because I did a training video, and my training video did more than their company. So they're like, look, here's a full license. Keep endorsing it.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So, AJ, thank you so much for answering these questions. Things to look forward to in 2019, 2020. I think I would sum it up into three things. Number one, don't get comfortable with where you're at. Okay? If you have a static live stream, find a way to get a man behind the camera. Find a way to have that tracking. If you want, you said you're excited for the A10 Mini coming out for $300. You can add a second camera. That's super excited. Keep moving forward. We don't want to be complacent. I'm seeing a little bit going around the hustle sphere, the entrepreneur sphere about Gary Vee did a speech about when you're not hungry, you don't move forward. When you're full, you're complacent. And so I want to make sure that yes, you hit that milestone, enjoy it. You got a live stream, you got a man behind the camera. Celebrate, you do it for a month, but then ask yourself what's next. Always be improving. Just like the pastor doesn't just preach the same sermons every year because they work, he's always looking to speak into the lives of people where they are now. What can you do to move forward with that? And then also just keep being engaged with social media. Don't just live stream and be done with it. Do something more. Do interviews, tell stories, get people on there. And I'm a fan of just doing it live, but AJ, you made a very good point. Some people may not be comfortable with that, trust with that, and then you might have the better post abilities than I do, so you would do better doing it post. I think there's no wrong way to do that. Do what you're equipped with and what you're comfortable with. And then, take a look at those streaming softwares we talked about. Worship Extreme's got my curiosity piqued. Take a look at Ecamm Live if OBS is too difficult. Also take a look at vMix. Chris said vMix has something for every budget. So take a look at those heading into the end of 2019, 2020. AJ, thank you so much for being here. I put your link in the chat because you currently have 991 subscribers on YouTube. I want Church Training Academy, Church Media Guys followers to get you to 1,000. So go find AJ the CEO on YouTube. I put a link in the chat. There'll be a link down below in the show notes. But elsewhere, AJ, tell me, if people want to connect with you and learn more about you, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at AJAY the CEO on everything.
Awesome, awesome. So AJ, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for being here. Now, take what you've learned, go change lives. And if you're hungry for more, if you're staying hungry, go click on one of these videos somewhere around here. I think it's going to be that way. Go click on a video over there. Keep watching, keep improving, and take everything that we teach you and go change lives.